Hey, how's it going? Had a pretty busy day in the shop. Not as productive as I was wanting it to be, but with cooler weather, sometimes us old fuckers we start hurting, so we can't move as good as we used to. But having a pretty good night so far. I'm making some chili. Put some of Spicy Mike's honey habanero in there. That'll kill me at some point. But excellent hot sauce, man. So anyway, I was working in the shop. I've had a real busy couple of weeks. Did grafting. I just did a Norse wedding. Did like 3 weddings in a row. I'm an ordained minister legally. I just don't look the part. So I did some of the reenactment stuff, some of the costuming, and I remembered how much I enjoyed doing that. And I started thinking about some of the books that I've got. Back before we had the internet, we had books, and Swords and Blades of the American Revolution. Hopefully, it's coming out right and not going to be backwards. It's hard to say, but you've got a lot of different pieces, and one of them that I've seen in several books is right here. It's an early American belt knife that's made out of a scythe blade or sai, however you guys want to pronounce it. And up here at the top, there's another knife with a drop blade. And I started thinking about, as a bladesmith, as a blacksmith, traditionally we repurposed a lot of materials. We repurposed a lot of springs into blades. Horseshoes into and wagon bands into gun barrels, things like that. And I was out in my shop, and I found one of my old throwing knives from many, many years back. I actually had a sai or scythe, whatever you want to call it, and it was a scale tang, and it was fairly straight. So it was like a big, long, kind of a corn knife looking thing on a handle, almost like a short pole arm. I picked it up at an auction. It was hand forged, about a 1065, 1070. I'm just throwing that out there. It's hard to tell what grade it was for certain, just by spark testing and the nature of the material. It's kind of a medium on the lower end of the high carbon scale, and this was originally a clip point. It had this short little clip. It threw fine. It had some symmetry issues. But I took and I reforged that. This is the original tang. I kept it. I had to do a little bit of work on it. You'll see that these are actually drifted. I didn't drift those. Those were drifted by the original smith. And this middle hole, he got off just a little bit. But I kept the tang for the handle. And I went ahead and swept this down. I went ahead and put a notch in here for choil. It's still got almost, probably pretty close, a little over 3/16 of an inch, maybe closer to a quarter on the spine here. It comes out pretty thin on the edge. So it's been reforged several times. Actually, I cut this down, and the other half of this became a hunting sword, colonial style hunting sword that I sold ever before I got unforged in fire or anything like that. But this still has some tempering colors on it because I was running some tempering cycles in the oven here because it's digitally controlled, and it works okay for some of the backyard heat treat stuff. But I wanted to make this just big kind of belt knife, make it look like it was made from an agricultural implement, which it was. And reworked into a piece of necessity or a piece of war. Or a piece of item of war. Not an oxymoron. But anyway, I've got to put some scales on this, and I was thinking about the way that this one was. This one right here, it's pinned. It's riveted. So not trying to do an exact copy by any means, but I thought, I could take and I could put some antler on that, or I could put some bone scales, or I could do a rawhide wrap on that. That'd look pretty cool. I don't know if I'll keep it or if I'll sell it, but I'm kind of planning on keeping it. But I thought, just for something that you could chop with that's still got a tip, you could have thrust with it. You could have went into battle with it, or you could have used it on your homestead, on the farm. I thought that was kind of a neat piece. Maybe somebody broke their sickle and made a knife out of it. It happened a lot. It even happened with swords. I was also working on a couple small tomahawks, some small axes, and these are made like a wrap die, made to look like a wrap die, but these are actually punch die. And I did some beveling on the edges here and some shaping to the profile. It's kind of hard to see there. Yeah. Anyway, not the best lighting, but not all tomahawks were. They were all tools, but they weren't all intended for chopping wood. A light hawk like this, properly made, this would have been useful for a trapper, for a soldier, just for anyone, a good utilitarian hatchet. Then I got a little weird. This piece here, I made as a fighting tomahawk. It's very light, it's very fast, it has a very strong, very aggressive beveled spike, almost like a Lagana, one of the Vietnam tomahawks, but it's not. I necked it down here using my press. So, I made this one, you could cut some branches with it. This is thick here, but it's narrower than what I would want for a wood cutting hawk. So I for once made a fighting hawk. I'll be getting this handled up shortly, the next day or so, probably tomorrow. But, it comes down to utilitarian use versus weapons of war. I think that's what I was wanting to go for earlier, was weapons of war. So, going from utilitarian with just a little bit of aesthetic flair to something that's just really not made for cutting wood. It's made for cutting people. But I've always enjoyed the mystique, of antique pieces. What stories would this have told? Obviously, this one, it had some agricultural use, and now it's going to go to me or a collector. But I'll tell you what, I like it. I'm pretty happy with the shape. I'm pretty happy with this profile. It's low convex. And I think once I get this all together, that could be a cool piece for costuming. Of course, every time I decide I'm going to keep something, somebody else says, no, I like that. I've got to have it. But it's just a little, it's something different. I had done I did a Norse wedding, so I had thought about the Viking sax, and I was thinking about that sickle bladed knife made from a sai or scythe, and so I kind of came up with this, and I think I found the right piece to make it out of, and it's still got some forging marks on it, which are going to stay. And I'll tell you what, I'm really happy with the current product. So, yeah, cool thing about being blacksmith or bladesmith, mostly blacksmith, I guess, in general, as far as terminology goes, is being able to take junk and turn it into something usable, repurposing, turn it into something valuable, and beautiful pieces of art more than anything, something someone can appreciate. And that's what art is, something that others can appreciate. And when someone appreciates my work, that makes me feel pretty good about things. So anyway, I'm gonna get back to the chili here. Everybody have a great day. Yes, my kitchen looks like it's from 1950 because it's basically stayed the same since the house was built in 1950. So everybody have a great day. And for once, read a damn book on history. Don't just rely on the internet the whole time. Later.